Good evening and thank you for staying with us right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachuku and these are the top stories. Diddy Combs placed on suicide watch in Brooklyn jail. Court dismisses suit seeking replacement of pro-Wiki lawmakers. Labour Party speaks on collapsing structure for Ighodalo hours to Edo election. Again, APC loses battle to disqualify PDP candidate Ighodalo in Edo gubernatorial poll. NLC President Attahiru insists President Tinubu betray them. Details now. The news begins with the court dismissing a suit seeking to replace 27 lawmakers in the Rivers State House of Assembly, loyal to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. VP News understands that the faction of Rivers Assembly lawmakers are led by Martin Amawale. There had been moves to remove the lawmakers from the assembly following their alleged defection from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. The suit seeking to replace the 27 lawmakers today was thrown out on various grounds. Among others, Justice Peter Lifu, who delivered the judgment, held that the suit instituted by the People's Democratic Party was statute bar, having not been filed within the 14 days allowed by law. While the defection was said to have been carried out in December last year, the APP filed the case on July 12, a period of 8 months after the cause of action emanated. Besides, Justice Lifu held that the case was a gross abuse of court processes on the ground that several suits on the alleged defection of the same 27 lawmakers had been adjudicated upon by the Federal High Court. The judge who quoted the previous judgment of the Federal High Court said the request for replacement of the lawmakers had earlier been rejected due to lack of sufficient evidence to establish the defection of the legislators. He specifically recalled the judgment of Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja, delivered in July this year, where the Independent National Electoral Commission was restrained from declaring the seats of the lawmakers vacant and from conducting any fresh election to replace them. Justice Lifu said that since the judgment has not been set aside and not appealed against, it remains binding with the force of law as far as the issue of defection is concerned for the 27 legislators. He said that it would amount to a display of judicial rascality for him to sit as an appeal court in the judgment of the same court. The judge subsequently dismissed the suit on 3 major grounds. Abubakar Mukhtar ruled that Okpebholo supplied false and forged documents to the Independent National Electoral Commission, the third defendant in the case, to support his governorship candidacy. The court emphasized that the submission of forged documents is a criminal offense and unjust to other contenders in the race. The court order further states that Okpebholo stands disqualified from participating in the governorship election. The ruling underscores the seriousness of the allegations, that with the court affirming that the offense tarnishes the integrity of the election process. The ruling was issued in Abuja on the 20th of September 2024, effectively halting Okpebholo's bid for the governorships, adding it is a ploy to steal the votes of the electorates. He wrote, "Fake news, fake news, fake news." And still on Edo elections, an 11th hour attempt by the APC to get the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Asuwe Ighodalo, disqualified from the Edo State governorship election has been dismissed. The APC suit filed at the Federal High Court in Abuja seeks to oust Ighodalo from the gubernatorial race was dismissed this evening by Justice Peter Lifu. The judge agreed with Ighodalo's lawyer, Chief Akilolu Kainde, that the suit was frivolous, baseless and unwarranted and was thrown out. In his judgment in the suit, Justice Lifu rejected the prayer of the APC to use another judgment of the same court that had queried the validity of the primary election that produced Ighodalo to kick him out of the race. Although Justice Ekwo did not categorically declare the primary election invalid, the APC, cashing in on Ekwo's finding, filed a fresh suit to disqualify Ighodalo on the strength of the alleged unlawful exclusion. However, Justice Lifu upheld the submission of the senior lawyer that the Federal High Court cannot sit as an appellate court in its own judgment. The judge also agreed that APC was a busybody and, of course, concerning the fact that a meddlesome interloper by dabbling into the internal affairs of PDP. Besides, Justice Lifo also upheld the argument of Kinde that the High Court judgment being used to press for Ighodalo's disqualification has since been voided and set aside by the Court of Appeal in Abuja. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Labour Congress has announced plans to engage with the federal government regarding strategies to help workers cope with the recent increase in petrol prices, which the union claims has undermined the anticipated benefits of the new 70,000 naira national minimum wage. President of the NLC, Jega, made this statement during the opening ceremony of a two-day workshop on minimum wage implementation workshop Southern Zone held in Lagos. Ajara expressed frustration over the current situation, asserting that the recent hike in petrol prices has eroded the value of the yet-to-be implemented minimum wage. He accused President Tinubu's administration of misleading organized labor into accepting the 70,000 naira minimum wage under the pretense that it would prevent further increases in fuel prices. You're currently listening to the World News at 6 on Voice of the People, 92.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll head into a news analysis segment. This time, I'll be joined via the telephone with Barrister Eze Eluche. Barrister Eze Eluche is a political, national and social affairs commentator. He'll be responding to some of the questions posed at him concerning the news that we just read out on the World News at 6. Do kindly stay with us. Barrister Eze Eluche, thank you for joining us on the World News at 6. How are you this Friday evening?
Thank you. I'm very fine. It's my pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you so much. And of course, I sincerely do appreciate you joining us on the World News at 6. Barrister Eze Eluche, the reason why I actually called you today to help me analyze some of the stories on the World News at 6 is that your legal prowess is actually needed to help us interpret some of the legal cases that are coming up just last minute. For example, the River State 27 defected lawmakers. Apparently, the River State Assembly, that is the defected lawmakers who were led by Martin Amawule and who are loyal to the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. Well, the suit 27 lawmakers today was thrown out on various grounds. Now, according to Justice Peter Lifu, who delivered the judgment, he held that the suit instituted by the Action People's Party, that's the APP, was statute barred, having not been filed within the 14 days allowed by law. Barrister Eze Eluche, what does this mean, please? Barrister Eze, are you there? Barrister Eze Eluche, can you hear me?
I am hearing you very well.
You're not responding.
Very well.
Yes, so what does this mean, please?
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. What does it mean?
Good. The fact is that I think we are now living the consequences of our rascality as a people. We are living the reality that for too long we have lived under a fraudulent constitution, the Nigerian constitution, which is a fraud. Because clearly, the same constitution we're talking about in section 68(1)(g) makes a very clear, explicit provision that any elected lawmaker, member of the State House Assembly, who dumps the party that elected him and jumps to another party, loses his seat automatically. I mean, you don't need to go to any court or whatsoever. But unfortunately, when these 27 characters defected from the APC, from the PDP publicly.
Yes.
Publicly, because it was all on media. They were shown tearing up their PDP card and waving the APC flag that they are jumping over. Rather than act on the constitutional basis, the governor, Fubara, thought he could achieve a political solution to the crisis. And he allowed himself to go to Abuja to a meeting presided over by President Bola Tinubu, who presided over another fraud. That's what I'm saying. So we're now living the consequences of the rascality and the fraud. So what this court did today It's just a continuation of that fraud, continuation of that rascality. Because these 27 men, they stopped being members of the Rivers State House Assembly the day they defected. So all these legal, some assaulting litigations, all amounts to absolute nonsense. And then until we begin to take our constitution serious, the ramifications for the polity will be very, very severe. Any Nigerian can pick up the constitution, read it, section 68, subsection 1G. You don't need that, even if you're illiterate. It is very clear. Now the issue is, did these men jump party? Did they leave the party that elected them, the PDP, and cross over to the APC? The answer is yes. It's even contained in the resolution that Mr. Bola Tinubu claims to have an answer. So what are we talking? Why must this matter be brought before court to this stage? In fact, if I was a judge, I would have even jailed those characters for contempt. What are you still bringing nonsensical cases to the court for? And you will say that in these instances, I won't be surprised if you see so-called senior advocates of Nigeria bringing these nonsensical cases before court, and they get away with it now.
Those lawmakers, we were wondering why, when a court had earlier said that indeed those lawmakers should stop parading themselves as, PDP lawmakers, since they had declared that they have defected to the APC. I remember, I don't know if it was you or another legal practitioner I was speaking with right here in the studio, when I asked and said, if the court has disclosed that they should stop parading themselves as lawmakers because they had defected, why is INEC, restraining themselves, or why have they not declared, their seat vacant to conduct fresh elections? And INEC responded by saying that they hadn't gotten any notification from the court for them to conduct fresh elections on those seats, so we're surprised. And now what we're hearing is because this particular APP party did not file within the stipulated 14 days to appeal the judgment, so indeed it holds and is statute barred, and their case was thrown out. And the court even said it's a gross misconduct that they wasted the court's time. So what does this mean? Where do these lawmakers stand? Are they part of the APC, or would they be recalled back into the PDP?
The rascality is just tremendous. The incidents of this house, the conduct of all the parties involved. For goodness sake, the matter occurred in Rivers State. What are they going all the way to Abuja to have this matter litigated upon? What kind of statute bar is the court talking about? Well, the issues are, there's a plethora of issues. Even if it was statute bar, does it mean they cannot even apply for extension of time to file if there is actually a wrong done? So, and why will the INEC be waiting for an authorization to conduct an election when INEC officials also have the copy of the Nigerian Constitution, Section 68(1)G? So, that it shows that we don't even take our Constitution serious. And as long as we don't do that, we'll keep on wasting the time of the court, wasting people's time, because in all these things, we have not asked ourselves, how has Rivers State been governed when 27 lawmakers are virtually not seeking anything to help to move the state forward? The people that suffer at the end of the day is the people of Rivers State, because there's absolutely no governance going on there. Whatever is happening is at the whims and caprice of Mr. Fubara, because there's no house to either moderate or oversight what he's doing. And then these things, I keep on saying, the root cause of all this is a fraudulent constitution that governs Nigeria, and it will keep on hitting us in the face at every occasion. That is why some of us are really happy that earlier this morning we saw a bill, a document floating around, that the president was trying to pass a new bill to change the constitution. Silly as it sounds, but this constitution has to be amended or removed. Otherwise, we'll keep on seeing these kind of things happening every day, and we ridicule ourselves before the local and international community. How can you? This is almost 1 year, and what has happened to Rivers State? Absolutely nothing. It's sad.
Marisa Eze-Ereche, President Tinubu met with the former INEC chairman Jega, and here is basically what he met Jega for. Of course, Jega had to meet him at the presidential villa very recently. Now, according to the president, Jega was at the villa to submit his committee's report on the Ministry of Livestock to the president. Apparently, Jega has been given a new appointment. Now, apparently, he was received by the president, received Professor Attahiru Jega, the former national chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, in Abuja. According to the presidency, Jega had visited the villa to submit his report on the proposed Ministry of Livestock to the president. Now, a couple of Nigerians and, of course, a political analyst like yourself were asking, why would the president consider giving Jega an appointment? According to what the presidency is saying, that the former INEC chairman brings his expertise and experience to the table, and that his appointment has garnered mixed reactions, with some praising his ability to lead the committee effectively, while others question the need for a separate livestock committee when the Ministry of Agriculture already exists. We were thinking that the president was going to implement the Oronsanye report, where you collapse ministries, departments, and agencies, where we don't have repeated departments doing the same thing, and then we're spending more monies on several personnel within this department. So what exactly does this mean? Is the president contradicting what he had said earlier this year?
I don't think so. I mean, those who wonder why a character like Jega should be appointed don't understand what this government is all about. Jega is being rewarded for his criminality, for the electoral fraud he participated and supervised that brought in the APC. So it's just a reward mechanism. And it reflects in virtually most of the appointments by this regime. They do not bring you in for your expertise, your positive attributes. It's simply, okay, you've done a good job in destroying or stealing from the system or thwarting the rule of law. So come back and help us do the same thing in this instance. So Jega perfectly, in the eyes of this regime, is the ideal person to do what he's been brought in to do. So see how he can also extend the electoral fraud he did as INEC chairman into this livestock ministry.
Well, the appointment is not necessarily the new appointment is not the livestock ministry, although that was one of the reasons he went to visit the president for, to give a report. He was given an appointment, or rather would I call it an assignment to do a report, a compiled report on that. The appointment is the fact that Jega has been given an appointment as Sokoto Varsity Chair. He was among 155 others appointed as chairman of President Tinubu's Governing Council of Chairmen. And this move follows a threat by ASU to embark on a nationwide industrial strike over the government's failure to constitute university governing councils. So the president has instituted a committee of, governing councils, and of course Jega is one of those persons. He's appointed as, Sokoto University chair. So what exactly does this mean? Is it to counteract ASU? Is it to prevent ASU from taking unanimous decisions if some of their welfare is not met, or whatever agreement they have with the federal government has not been met? Is this a way to stifle whatever autonomous decision they make concerning certain things that has to do with their welfare? What does this categorically mean?
It categorically means that the presidency is continuing with its disregard for constitutional authority and laws. If you recollect, before the dissolution of the boards of university, the Governing Council of University,
yes,
there were subsisting university councils which have tenure. They are tenured. They are not to be discarded or dissolved at the whims and caprice of any regime. But what the president did was to, across board, sack all the boards of all the universities, which is against the laws of the university. So this, what I believe he's trying to do, is to instill or to instigate crisis in the university. Because simply, if any of the members of the now dissolved board were to go to court, these new boards will not sit, and then there will be crisis in the institution. So it shows this government flourishes with crisis. And appointing a man like Jega, I don't know why Nigerians will bother. I am sure.
No, because the reason is that there are mixed reactions concerning the appointment. There are mixed reactions concerning the appointment. Some believe that Jega rigged elections. Like I said, there have been a lot of mixed reactions. Some people feel that the reason why he's been appointed is because he did the needful to his paymasters. Some people believe that Jega did absolutely well when he was INEC chairman, and that he's worthy of this appointment, specifically submitting the report on livestock, because he's a co-chairman of that committee set up by the presidency. And of course, he's now being appointed as a chairman of the Sokoto University. So if they're saying that it was his deeds while he was INEC chairman that is possibly giving him the opportunity of all these appointments from the president. But there are disputed reactions to this. Now, for example, on your path, you're not comfortable that your guy is being given such position, considering what you consider his own tenure and how he went on with his proceeding. So if you look at it pari passu, does that actually qualify?
I did not say I'm not comfortable with it. I'm saying I expect a government of Bola Tinubu to make such appointments. They can continue to appoint. Like I'm telling you now, if somebody like INEC was still alive, I wouldn't be surprised if he's appointed into this government. Because it's a government that is trying to disregard even rule of law, that celebrates and appoints criminals into government. So what are we talking about? I wouldn't be surprised if, let's say, the tenure of the current Yakubu Mahmoud, INEC chairman, if his tenure expires, he may end up in the central bank with this kind of government. So who cares? But until Nigerians say enough is enough, we will not put a stop to all this nonsense. And the earlier we do that, the better for everybody.
Speaking of elections, Mahmoud Yakub, of course, he's still the INEC chair. He'll be supervising, organizing, the elections in Edo State tomorrow. And I must tell you, quite a lot of theatrics and drama had actually emerged. You know that a court disqualified the Edo APC governorship candidate, Okpebolo, from contesting tomorrow. Apparently, he was disqualified because of age falsification and forgery. And it's quite surprising, like we spoke earlier. Apparently, Abubakar Mukhtar, that is his worship, maintained that Okpebolo ought not to be in the governorship race because he supplied false and forged documents to the Independent National Electoral Commission to aid his qualification for the governorship election. Apparently, he was summoned by Chief Magistrate Court of the Federal Capital Territory in Wuse Magistrates District over forgery and perjury charge, following a report of discrepancies in the birth dates he provided in the nomination forms he submitted to INEC for the governorship election. Now, a lot of critics have reacted to this particular situation. The question has emerged: why are some persons or most persons vying for position within the All Progressives Congress having issues with certifications submitted to INEC? And why is INEC condoning most of all of this? You recall the controversy during the tribunal, which of course evidence is brought by the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu concerning his certificate. We're hearing this of Monday as well. So what exactly is going on? And why would we keep having repeated cases like this for leaders or persons contesting for positions when elections are close?
Well, the reality is that the person who occupies the highest political office in the land serves as motivation for virtually everything. If you remember, soon after he was made president, one young girl went and forged her result and she got the highest score in JAM. So if Mr. Tinubu could get away with what he got away with his University of Chicago certificate, his age falsification, his gender issues and everything, why wouldn't anybody try and give it a shot? So if what is going on in Edo State is true, I mean, who do you blame? The Supreme Court has said it doesn't matter. So that is why I keep on saying we are benefiting or having the consequence of our rascality in this country. And unfortunately, more of this will happen. But the issue that is even pertinent in this case, why will a magistrate court in Abuja be sitting over a gubernatorial crisis in Edo State? I mean, you will ask yourself, do we take ourselves serious in this country? What gave that magistrate? Magistrate courts have limited territorial jurisdiction. This is a governorship candidate taking place in Edo State, and the magistrate deems it fit to look into that matter, and they will be allowed to go scot-free by the system, by the Nigerian Bar Association, by the legal system. My dear, we have to decide what we want. Do we want a country or do we want a contraption? Do we want to have a rule of law or the rule of no law? And so far, we are deciding on the negatives. We are deciding to have a contraption. We are deciding to have a rule of no law. Nigerians have to wake up and decide what we want. Otherwise, it will bear a cost on every one of us. Because we simply cannot even understand what is going on. Even as a lawyer of over 30 years experience, you wonder what in heaven's name is going on with our legal system.
So you're saying that the magistrate court has no presiding authority over a case like this?
Certainly, it has no. He knows this is a pre-election matter. What concerns the magistrate court with this issue?
Okay, so because I think in reaction to this, right? Apparently, a magistrate, based on the magistrate court's judgment concerning Okpebolo, I think Okpebolo and his media team actually appealed that judgment. So in that reaction, just yesterday, an FCT High Court sitting in Maitama today stopped criminal summons against Senator Monday, the All Progressives Congress governorship candidate in the Saturday governorship election, which is to take place tomorrow. And apparently they stopped the summons after granting leave for the judicial review of Magistrate Abubakar Mukhtar's criminal summons while ruling in motion ex parte moved by Okpebolo's lawyer. Immediately that decision was given by the magistrate court, Okpebolo and his media team went to appeal that court at the FCT High Court, and today they actually stopped that criminal age falsification summon. Can you explain what this means again?
What it means is that you wouldn't be surprised. Maybe another lawyer will go to a court in Funtua or in Okigwe and go and produce one nonsensical order. And then until the judicial system decides to purge itself of this rascal element who keep on sitting in closed corners and giving out judgment, we will not get it right. Anybody, how will you know if somebody has gone to another state to bring out another jaundice court ruling? It's unfortunate I'm talking about this with court rulings, but this is simply what it is. You can't be fishing around or going around all the corners to know who has filed any matter or who has not filed any matter. So the reality is this: the judicial system needs to be overturned, overhauled.
But according to the APC's lawyer,
yes,
he said in the 11 ground arguments filed by the APC lawyer, they said the order issuing criminal summons against him over alleged date of birth forgery was made by Mukhtar without caution and due diligence. Again, can you kindly explain how a case presented to the court, a magistrate looked through it, approved that indeed he should be disqualified from contesting because of age falsification? Whoever filed that petition brought out evidences to prove the discrepancies in the documents presented by Okpebolo. Now, the APC went to the FCT High Court and actually appealed it, and they said on the ground that due diligence was not followed and that there was no caution applied. In other words, the FCT High Court stopped that summon from proceeding. So does it mean to say that tomorrow Okpebolo is actually going to be contesting? He's representing the APC.
The fact is that the magistrate court's order is nonsensical. And I'm sure even if it's given in Abuja, it might not even be served on the parties concerned. But all this is putting the whole system, it's overheating the system unnecessarily. And until we decide to put a check on all these things, we'll keep on running into these kind of obstacles. We don't deserve this.
So
the record has been that there has been no way to penalize rascal elements in judiciary who get away with all these kind of nonsensical orders. They do it and they keep on doing it. None of them has been dismissed or even imprisoned for such rascal conduct. And until we begin to do that, we will get worse and worse judgments from our court.
Does this validate what the saying has been concerning the fact that the politicians are using the judiciary and they have balkanized the judicial system? You're having conflicting court orders in the space of 24 hours. Barrister Ezra, do you know how the court process works here? Just like an average Nigerian, if at all you're apprehended by the police and you have to be taken to court, you may literally be kept in the custody or in the custody of the police or taken to jail. And before your case will be attended to, it may take a week if you don't even have the financial influence to do that. In the space of 24 hours, we have seen two different judgments from two different courts, the magistrate court and the FCT High Court, just because of influence. So does this validate the claims by other lawyers and judicial officers like yourself that the institution has been balkanized for the personal gains of our politicians?
No, I take exception to that. When you say like myself, I'm not part of this kind of rascals. I am certainly not, and I wouldn't be part of that. But the reality is this: the system has been messed up, and until we decide to cleanse it, until we decide to cleanse it, either from the Nigerian Bar Association or the Nigerian Judicial Council, there will be crisis. And you can imagine if this takes place at national level, and then a court pronounces A and B president, and that one goes to pronounce another one as the president, then there will be crisis. So we need to get our house in order. And we don't need to just blame judiciary. The decay starts from the very top. Once a fish decays from the top, every system of it is decayed. The problem with Nigeria should not be lampooned on only the judiciary. It's systemic and it's fundamental from the Nigerian Constitution. That's the source of all this. And until we decide to relinquish ourselves to ditch this fraudulent document and decide by ourselves whether we want to have a nation, we will keep on having these problems.
Barrister Eze Eluche, it's quite unfortunate, to be honest with you, based on most of the analysis you've given concerning this, because even I am confused. I'm literally confused. The case of the 27 defected lawmakers, and they're saying the case should be thrown out of court. The case of Monday Okpebolo being asked the fact that he submitted false documents concerning age falsification, and the magistrate court has been asked to stop that summon. The FCT court, based, and the APC lawyer is saying that there was no due diligence followed. There was no caution. So what happens to the ordinary Nigerian who does not have the influence to follow through with these processes whereby legal proceedings are accelerated based on the need? And then the elections are already very close. As of tomorrow, we're seeing all of this crop up. How do we trust the authenticity of the conduct of the elections tomorrow? Because we're already hearing each of the political parties give their own claims as to one issue or the other that might come up tomorrow. The excuse here is the fact that Nigerians are saying INEC has no excuse for there to be any issue tomorrow because it's just Edo State. So all the security agencies, all the materials that are needed for elections to be conducted ought to be adequate, timely, and no excuses. Do you foresee a clear, unadulterated election process tomorrow in Edo State with all of this happening?
Certainly not. The chairman of INEC still remains Yakubu Mahmoud. The processes are still the same. The same kind of promises he was making before the 2023 presidential election is what he's still promising, that there will be instantaneous upload of the results to the beavers, to the IRF, all that nonsense is still what he's saying again. So why will anybody? It only takes a fool to believe in what this man is saying. I mean, he said all this the same things, and there was the same kind of arrangement. The police IG will come and talk all the good talk. The military will make all the noise. But on the day of the ballot, we will see the rigging manifest, and nothing will happen.
INEC has assured us. INEC has assured us that we're not going to experience that tomorrow, and that all their resources have been deployed to ensure that there is a credible election carried out tomorrow. And you're saying that you don't foresee that happening. And Barrister, please be careful of the words you use.
Absolutely not. No, nothing like that should be taken serious. Nothing from his mouth should be taken serious. Why would you take a man like that serious? A man who lies to you both patiently, you take him serious again? Then we are jokers. I mean, this man should have resigned. Yakubu Mahmoud should have resigned long time ago, and he's still there. He's still making the same promises, and you want me to comment whether I believe or not? I'm not a fool. Whatever he says, I will think that's absolute nonsense. But then the way forward is for this. The Nigerians should say enough is enough, and when they rig elections, and we should be able to say no, it won't work. We won't agree. That's how it's done in other countries. Barrister
Esa, you saw the End Bad Governance protests in where Nigerians were trying to say enough is enough, and you saw all the treasonable felony charges flying all over, north, right, and center. So how do you expect Nigerians to actually say enough is enough when they may not be protected in the process?
No, I mean, look at other countries where they've finally made it true. I mean, how many people were charged with treason? Less than 20. Let them charge 1,000. Let them charge 10 million Nigerians for treason. Then we know that they are serious. But what they've done with end bad governance is just the beginning. As long as there is bad governance, Nigerians must protest to end bad governance. Simple. I mean, we should not be deterred by whatsoever shenanigans these guys display, because we will keep on suffering the consequences. Now, how much are you buying for? It's about 1,300 in some areas. How is the cost of living in Nigeria? So if we say we will not stop the protesting against bad governance, then it's to our own detriment. But as far as I'm concerned, Nigerians have all reasons now to vehemently come out and say enough is enough.
Barrister Eze Eluche, I want to say thank you so much for taking your time to respond to some of the questions posed at you this evening on the World News at 6. I sincerely do appreciate your input.
Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Barrister Eze Eluche. And just before we go, renowned hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs has been placed on suicide watch at the Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention Center as he awaits trial on serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. The 54-year-old was arrested on multiple counts, including transportation for the purpose of prostitution, after federal authorities raided his properties in Los Angeles and Miami 6 months ago. Sources revealed to People that Combs, whose mental state was described as uncertain, has been placed under the watch as a precautionary measure due to his shock following the arrest. According to the U.S. Department of Justice National Institute of Corrections, suicide watch is supervisory precautions taken for suicidal inmates that require frequent observation. Combs was denied bail and house detention by Manhattan Federal Magistrate Judge Robin Tarnowski. His attorney, Mark Anglifilo, has indicated that Combs plans to plead not guilty to the charges and will vigorously fight for his release from custody. Anglifilo remarked that despite the situation, Combs remains in good spirit and is confident. And just before we go, here again are the top stories. You heard that Diddy Combs has been placed on suicide watch. Also, court dismisses suit seeking replacement of pro-Wike lawmakers. Labour Party speaks on collapsing structure for Ighodalo hours to Attahiru election. Again, APC loses battle to disqualify PDP candidate Ighodalo in Attahiru poll. And NLC President Jega insists President Tinubu betray them. That's a wrap on the world news at 6. My name is Esther Wachiku. Good evening and thank you for listening.